Hey, hey, hey. We are just. How's everybody doing? Hi. Hi. We are about to have a nice, quick Jacques talk with Bogan. Hey. We are going to be talking about music licensing and his journey on in this music business. So I am very excited to have him. Here we go. Here we go. Hi. We're going to talk about his journey. Hey. How are you?
Sorry. Let's see.
Gosh.
Okay.
Get ready.
Do you have audio?
Yeah, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Hey.
Hey, it's good to see your face.
I know. I've been seeing you since Nashville 2019, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen you in
Jeez.
forever. It seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It seems like a lifetime ago, but yet Nashville's still there. Same stuff. How have you been doing? How have you been doing in this pandemic?
I've been doing okay. Keeping busy. A lot has changed for me. Good friend. It's changed for me during the pandemic in regards to what my focus is on in the music industry. So that's been really interesting. As you know, last time we hung out, I was promoting Tune Registry, the business, the software that I built, and I've since moved on and joined the MLC. So the focus has still been on supporting songwriters and artists with music rights, but now in a different capacity at the MLC. So it's been.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so glad to have you on because I've known you for a very long time. When you used to be a promoter in UCLA,
I talk about that all the time. I think
you promoted my birthday party.
At National.
Yeah.
On Wilcox.
Yes. Yes. Like 2007. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I'm glad that we don't age. We look good. We look good. So I want to kind of get into your journey from that to where you are now. And I know personally it was not a linear journey. So
right.
How did you begin, and how did you start figuring out where you wanted your place to be in this industry?
It's really interesting because, and this is a very important conversation. It's something I have all the time with my students and mentees. But my place has evolved, and I've always been willing to allow the circumstances and environment and opportunities to define what my place should be. But there was always a through line theme, right? It's always been music industry, business, supporting artists. But how that showed up has manifested differently over the years. And you've seen it from me working with DJs back in UCLA to promoting independent artists while I was working at Chic and building the music platform at Chic and discovering and promoting artists, from Kendrick Lamar to, YG to Ty Dolla $ign to Omarion, supporting independent and emerging artists, to establishing my own label and publishing company and artist management company, and then evolving and building technology to support artists with in-store music videos, promotion. So it's been all over the map, from being more hands-on and close with the creative process in the studio, giving some direction on vocals, and to dealing with music rights and publishing and helping artists understand how to navigate their rights. So I've been very sort of flexible in terms of how I show up in the music industry, which has enabled me to be involved in so many different sectors, and to collaborate with so many different types of people and different companies and nonprofits and membership organizations and just being flexible. But it didn't start there, because like a lot of people I support, I came here as an aspiring artist, and this entire kind of part of my life, working on the business side, is totally not even what drove me to Los Angeles, or what I thought I would be doing, right? I came out here like most people in the music industry who come out here is just to be an artist.
Yep.
And at 18 years old, and on December 4th, 2003, one-way ticket, afternoon at Burbank Airport, right? And that's a moment that I acknowledge every year, every December 4th, because there's a milestone, and there's also a way to kind of evaluate what has happened since the last year. Like you said, it has not been a linear journey. And it's important for me when I have these conversations to talk about my failures just as much as I talk about my successes, because together that really defines who I am. And it's not just these wins, but there were tons of losses along the way, from losing my companies and losing opportunities to as an artist losing opportunities. From my first audition for making the band, which that season became Day 26. I'm like, that's my name. Losing that opportunity and going out to auditions for musicals, because I also was an actor, and not really getting that far, although I had talent and still have talent, but you realize that you're competing with the world's top talent, and it's not that it's something to discourage, but I also had other interests and opportunities in terms of the business side and wanting to explore those too. So it's been a whirlwind of moments of repeat achievements and successes, and then moments of long periods of challenges that I've had to navigate both professionally and personally, and ultimately that defines and builds who I am as a support system for others, but also who I am in terms of my own journey in the music industry, which has not ended, right? I'm still on this journey. Yeah. It's still evolving. The MLC is the next adventure, which is an exciting adventure. And I feel like the things I've been doing over the last almost 9 years has, put me on the route towards my role now at the MLC, which is a very fitting role. My role is the head of third-party partnerships. And in that role, my job is to develop and execute effectively most of the partnership opportunities for the organization. And I'm doing partnerships with nonprofit member organizations. I'm doing partnerships with companies that support music creators and rights holders, such as software companies like Tune Registry and Blocker and Exactuals and music data services, who are helping music creators and songwriters manage their metadata and get their songs properly checked against the MLC's database. Tons of conversations that are underway right now with different sort of groups that are regional across the country, who are working in a capacity in their local markets to support artists in different ways. So just looking at how the MLC as an organization can support those initiatives, and then also developing initiatives internally for career development, for helping to educate music creators about their rights and their entitlements in the United States as it pertains to the law, because our role is to administer the government mandated Section 115 blanket license, which was born out of the passing of the Music Modernization Act in 2018. So all of that kind of stuff is really interesting, because I came out here as narrowly focused on, I want to work in the entertainment industry as a talent, right? I want to be an artist, both an actor and a musician. That's what drove me here. That's what picked me up out of my small town in Ohio to come to Los Angeles. And then when I got here, in addition to pursuing that, I realized that I had a certain acumen as a strategist and a business person and a leader to take on sort of roles that kind of I evolved into. Starting with just kind of supporting my friends who are also aspiring artists in different areas of the music industry and entertainment industry as a whole, to making that official leap into management at my senior year at UCLA, with starting with DJs.
Yeah.
And that kind of got into that route after promoting clubs and doing parties for student groups and booking DJs, and realizing those DJs realizing that I was they felt that I was a good person to work with as a manager, and that kind of got me in this whole different direction of management that evolved into executive producing projects, that evolved into owning masters and copyrights and so forth, and then evolved into having to do the research and independent exploration in that kind of rights sector that started this path that I'm on now. So it's been a lot, but it's been interesting for sure.
I would get, and since I've known you throughout, and you've helped me, and even when the pandemic started, I saw like all the stuff you posted about resources for independent artists, and it was able to keep me afloat. And I've had to learn. I came to LA to be an artist, and now I am mainly a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So I pivoted, not because of, like you, not because of lack of talent, but because I found my sweet spot, the spot that the community was giving back, and I wasn't just giving my effort. So what did you do when you realized you needed to keep pivoting for your trajectory to keep growing in this industry? Because I know a lot of people, like with their pride, they're like, I'm not giving up on why I came here.
Right.
But you seem to not give up, but to pivot in the right moments to keep accelerating.
Right. And, I think it's important for us to, I think, try to wrap our heads around the difference between giving up and pivoting. Mm-hmm. Because, my goal was to work in the music industry.
Yeah.
And initially that was driven by being an artist, right? I still work in the music industry. I work in a different capacity now. I don't see that as giving up. I see that as pivoting into something else that I'm also really good at. And essentially, not necessarily focusing on being the artist part, but, I've been able to support literally thousands of artists as a result of that pivot.
Yeah.
So, and I enjoy what I do, and I love what I do. And, it's I'm passionate about it just as I was about, the art. So I think it's simply trying to identify the different ways in which you can still be a part of something. You don't always have to be, it's not going to always end up the exact plan that you have for yourself. And that's okay. You should be flexible. But that being said, there are people who, still are very passionate and driven and want to be and on in the route to be, established artists, and they should, continue doing that work. But also just be flexible. Think about the other ways that you can, be a part of the music industry or entertainment industry in general. But for me, of course, I was passionate about music. I'd always been passionate about music since I was a kid. I've been singing and came out here to be an artist. But I was also passionate about, business. I just didn't know it. I was doing a lot of different things and kind of student groups and extracurricular activities where even adults in my world, like my guidance counselor and my best friend's parents and my parents would will say, look, you're very business savvy, you're very leadership driven, and I was involved in a lot of things. So those traits about me and that character about me came to light later in terms of me being a serial entrepreneur in the music industry, building several businesses and taking my ideas, developing them into into technology companies, and then helping a lot of other music entrepreneurs from independent label owners to independent publishers to tech startup founders with their businesses, to music libraries and so forth. So it's still an interesting way to participate in the industry and still get a lot of enjoyment and get a lot of joy out of it without necessarily being the artist.
Okay. And I say this, bringing back the MLC into the conversation, what, if people don't know, or an independent artist is still young and still learning what they need to know, how will the MLC, how do I word this? What does an independent artist need to know about the MLC, and what should they be doing in their career to make sure that they are getting their money?
Those are two great questions, because a lot of people are still trying to figure that out. And myself and my colleagues at the MLC, we've been on over 100 webinars and panels and virtual conferences and summits over the last several months, having this conversation, promoting and driving awareness in regards to MLC. So let me kind of take a step back for those who are not familiar with MLC. We've been using MLC as as an acronym, but the MLC stands for the Mechanical Licensing Collective. It is a nonprofit organization that is designated by the United States Copyright Office to administer the blanket mechanical license, which was created out of the Music Modernization Act of 2018. So just kind of some quick 1-minute history. There's 2 copyrights, and when it comes to music, you have the musical work, which is the lyrics, the melody, kind of notes, the arrangement, and then you have the sound recording, which is a derivative of that because it embodies the musical work. So you have the sound recording. So generally speaking, the musical work copyright owner would be a publisher. So when you get a publishing deal, the publisher, sometimes the copyright owner, or the songwriter can maintain that ownership. And then the owner in the sound recording is the record label. So I'm gonna just use the word song for musical work. So songs, so you have songs and recordings. Recordings are artists and record labels. Songs are songwriters and publishers, composers, lyricists, and so forth. So on the song, songs have been federally protected in terms of copyright since 1907. But we've had very little updates to how songs are licensed in the United States over the decades, over the century. So we effectively have been operating off of the 1976 Copyright Act with some amendments along the way. So the last time the Copyright Act was sort of overhauled was 1976. And then there were a number of amendments that have happened over the years to help address new innovation in the music industry. So for example, in the 1992, we had the Audio Home Recording Act, which was an act that established a tariff for media, blank media like CDs and recording devices to make the manufacturers pay into a pool and then to pay royalties to artists and labels for this blank media that can be used for piracy. That's the Audio Home Recording Act of 1992. Then move forward to 1995, we had we started to get internet music and digital radio. So we had in 1995 the Digital Performance and Sound Recording Act of 1995, which established Sound Exchange. And Sound Exchange administers Section 112 and 114 of the Copyright Act, which is the sections that deal with licensing internet services like Pandora, satellite services like SiriusXM, cable services like Music Choice, and to make sure that artists and labels are paid royalties for the for the public performance of sound recordings. Then we moved to 1998. We had the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, the DMCA, which is essentially creates a safe harbor for internet services like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and any service that allows the users to upload content so that the service themselves are not liable for the copyright infringement of the content that's being uploaded by users. But it also put into place new rules and regulations for how that content is managed. So sometimes artists will see their own content get copyright strikes, because of the way that all of the copyright management is happening around that policy. Then we move forward from 1998 to 2018. So that's 20 years, 20-year hop to the Music Modernization Act, right? So the Music Modernization Act has 3 titles, 3 parts. Title 1, which is called the Musical Work Modernization Act, is a update to the way musical works are licensed to digital service providers like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Deezer, so forth. Before, there was no organization in the United States responsible for collecting mechanical royalties for songwriters. And mechanical royalties is what you're paid when your song is reproduced in a phonorecord. So a physical good like a CD or vinyl or cassette, audio file, MP3 wave, distributed into interactive services, you earn a mechanical royalty, but there was no organization. Other countries have organizations responsible for collecting mechanical royalties and paying publishers and songwriters. We did not have an organization. So it was kind of piecemealed by all these different companies that handled the administration on behalf of publishers or on behalf of digital services.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the MLC was formed, Mechanical Licensing Collective, and we're now the organization that is responsible for collecting mechanical royalties from digital music services like Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes, and then paying out the copyright owners, which can be a publisher or a songwriter. So now there's an organization. We went into operation effectively this year. The license became effective January 1st. And beginning April, we'll start making those royalty payments, mechanical royalty payments for royalties that were not only the royalties that are accrued today, but also those that are historically unmatched, meaning you may have had songs on Spotify or on Tidal or Deezer or any of these services and may not have collected mechanical royalties in the past, where we're responsible for also matching those historically unmatched royalties to the copyright owners. So what should artists be doing? So I gave you that kind of huge crash course. So now knowing that, artists needs to, if artists are, or songwriters, if effectively our members are self-administered songwriters, if you own your own copyrights in your song, then it's your responsibility to ensure that your songs are properly registered with the various music rights organizations. Some songwriters are already aware of ASCAP and BMI and CSEC, and then they're aware of Sound Exchange. But the MLC is a new organization to be aware of because we're handling the mechanical rights specifically for the song, the musical work, which is to be paid to songwriters. So, making sure that they go and join the MLC, and then once they've joined the MLC, need to register their songs with MLC. You can check our public search. You can check our public database right now to see if your song's already in our database. If it's not, then that's an indicator that it may not be there when it comes time for us to calculate and pay out royalties. So it's important that independent artists that are songwriters that own their own own their own publishing to start that process. If they're using a publishing administrator, then the publishing administrator will be doing that for them. They just need to check with the publishing administrator, just kind of double check. But if you don't have a publishing administrator, then it's your entitlement to come sign up directly and to get paid directly from us, 100% of the royalties, no commission.
That's awesome. And I remember when you were explaining this to me, I was so like, okay, there's so much I need to know because obviously I own my own publishing. I have chosen that to do as much independent as I can for my leverage for my career. And it was I was shocked by how much I was missing because I thought I was doing it right. Like I have a degree in music industry. I try to keep up, but I felt like so many things were slipping through the cracks. So I'm really happy that there is a place like the MLC to kind of tie it all together for somebody that's trying to do it all independently.
Yeah,
and doesn't want to have to sign something with like.
I'm 100% pro-independent. I've been 100% pro-independent since I was an artist, and eventually I started an independent label and independent supporting independent artists and independent songwriters. And once I dissolved those businesses and moved into technology, I've built software to support independent songwriters, independent artists. Now that being said, there's pros and cons to being independent. Obviously, you take on all the work and actually for owning all the income streams and the copyrights, which can be great from a leverage standpoint. Like you mentioned, at that time when you're ready to do a major deal, you have much more leverage when you can come in and with some history in regards to how your rights and your assets have performed. But the challenge in the meantime is, okay, well, I need to do all this work, right? I need to make sure my songs are registered. I need to make sure that my bank account is set up with every organization so that I'm getting direct deposits. When I do earn money, I need to make sure that I'm receiving my reports so I can look and see that, if my songs were streaming on this service, I need to be able to see that and how that tracks into royalties. So it does require a little bit of work, but it also makes you a little bit more savvy when it comes to conversations with a publisher or labels, independent or major. You kind of have an idea of, okay, well, the last few years, this is what I did in performance royalties and mechanical royalties. So, I kind of know where I'm at, like where you're going to take my career, like where we're going with this, because I know my baseline based on what I've been able to achieve by myself. So if I'm bringing a team on and I'm giving up half my copyrights, then how much further are you going to push my career if I'm giving you 50 or 100% of my copyrights, right? Are you going to double the size of my career that it is today, right? Does that make, what is the benefit? So you're able to do a better analysis of the opportunities that are presented to you when you're ready to sign a publishing or a label deal as an artist, if you've spent some time building a career. And a lot of times, you see artists who've been signed immediately off of social media. They don't have any historical data to be able to go and negotiate, and it's, not to say that all the deals are bad, but I mean, if I'm a label or a publisher and I'm taking all this risk for someone who just basically has a trending song right now, I don't know if they're going to have a career in 5 years or in 10 years. Then I'm going to try to get as much out of it as possible, right? So, which means who's not getting a lot out of it potentially is that signed artist or songwriter. And I don't say that to knock labels, but I just say that because my inbox is full of people that people follow on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, who you would think that are taken off, and they're in my inbox with not understanding how the deals that they're are just signed into. Once that honeymoon ends, and they realize, oh wait, I signed up to do 3 albums worth of stuff with someone I wasn't necessarily in love with in terms of a label. I was just in love with the idea of being signed, or I just signed up for to give away 100% of my copyright on every song that I write and all the songs I wrote in the past. And this publisher is not even helping me get my songs in TV and film. So it's like, I'm seeing these kind of conversations happen. And some of that has to do with, not having proper representation, like a good lawyer, but it also has to do with, this scale of, if I'm gonna give this kid an opportunity, how much risk am I willing to take? This is the question that labels and publishers have. How much risk am I willing to take? If they just had that one hit, that one song that went viral, but they're not gonna have anything follow up, am I gonna give them a huge advance? If I'm gonna give them a huge advance, I'm gonna take a lot of something. So that's the challenge you have when you don't spend a little bit of time at least developing an independent career, and networking, so you can have a better foundation and like I said, better leverage.
I love that explanation, and I think you have to be able to do the work, and I think the more knowledge you have of the business, the better your artistry can be, because you won't get taken advantage of. You can have the conversations, or who to hire that can have those conversations because the questions to ask. As we close, I want to ask you one more question. First of all, I want to say thank you again for spending this morning with me. Absolutely. But what is your one piece of advice for young independent artists?
For young independent artists, I mean, my advice is the same for everyone, because really the last number of years, my focus have been on the business side and music rights and copyrights. At the end of the day, I'm a copyright purist. I believe that you own your art, the moment you create it and fix it in tangible form, which is when copyright is established. And at that point, if you're going to be in the music business, you need to take some time to understand the business part. Otherwise, you're in the music hobby, and eventually you're going to get run over by those who are in the business because you haven't focused on that part, right? I can stay at home and come up with some really cool, interesting pizza recipes and make them for my friends all day long. But the moment I go and try to sell those recipes or sell those pizzas, I need to understand how to market myself, how to pay rent for a brick and mortar, how to hire people, how to deal with my business license and taxes. That's a business. So want to go beyond playing music in your room. It's for your friends and family, and you want to actually put it up on services like Spotify and Apple and all the other ones, and get into the business, then you need to spend some time understanding the business, and that can be done the traditional way of education, but a lot of it is done also with independent research and following the right people and pros in the industry who are giving knowledge all the time about the business part. So make sure you make room for the business. Make room for understanding the business that you're in.
Thank you so much for all this information, and for people that came in late. I will be posting this, and I will link the MLC and some other resources and some of Dave's resources, because you should follow him, because he has a wealth of knowledge and very, very helpful with your content that you provide.
Absolutely. You just reminded me, I'm going to go ahead and post my website, Dave Bogan Music, because I have a ton of free resources, articles, podcasts, webinars, a free ebook called the DIY Musician's Starter Guide to Being Your Own Label and Publisher, which breaks down a lot of this business stuff we talked about. So it's all on that website, and you can search the search box for keywords and stuff will come up.
Thank you so much, and have a beautiful Thursday. Of course, anytime. Bye.